Apart from being a blessing to people living in metropolitan cities, Uber also leaves you much more vulnerable to various scams that are pulled off by con artists and some of the passengers. Uber has gained huge popularity in the past few years, but success doesn't come alone. The story of Uber is laden with numerous scandals and controversies at every point in time. Do you know that the idea of Uber was somewhat illegal to an extent? Uber is the most questioned company across Silicon Valley on the basis of ethics. The story started back in 2008 on the streets of Paris, when two friends, Travis and Garrett, were waiting for a cab on a chilly winter night. They waited for quite some time, but none of the taxis showed up, leaving them cold and frustrated. This incident left them thinking as to what they should do to solve this matter. Who knew the seed that was planted in their minds that night would result in a billion-dollar business? But this is not a typical success story of a businessman. Apart from being a revolutionary idea, it has many loopholes in it, which were illegal. One of the two friends, Travis Kalanick, did not have a pleasant childhood. He would often get bullied by his friends, and as an escape, he would engross himself in tons of work. Also, he was not born into a wealthy family, and therefore as a teenager, he would sell kitchen knives going from door to door, which also honed his natural sales skills. This talent of his later proved to be very effective in pitching investors for his entrepreneurial project. Before coming up with Uber, he dropped out of his college and put his efforts into another idea, which was called Score Peer-to-Peer. This was basically a search engine for flies. Unfortunately, the company got sued for $250 billion regarding copyright infringement issues. Eventually, the company got bankrupt. He got really upset and looked forward to starting another business, which he acknowledges as his revenge business. He kept the name of the company as Red Swoosh. This time, the core idea was the same, that is, peer-to-peer technology, but the 33 litigants who sued him last time are now paying him. It should have been a proud moment for him. Travis sold this business for a huge amount of money, which provided him the money to start his next project, which was even bigger than this. The taxi service in Paris was degrading day by day, which made Travis and Garrett immensely frustrated. They thought that there had to be a better alternative for this, but the idea of Uber got injected into their minds while they were watching a James Bond movie. They were doing pretty fine for the first few months until one day, they got a piece of news. On 20th October of that year, one of the transportation agencies reached out to the Uber office, telling them that their business was against the law. By then, all of their drivers were professionals who were registered with the local transportation office. Uber felt this behavior was a bit too harsh, but it looked like the state was very strict about running a taxi business. Unfortunately, Uber was breaking the rules. One point under this was technical. Uber did not own any of the cars, and the drivers were using their own cars. This thing helped Uber to save up a lot of money but raised some legal issues. For every trip they made till that day, they were fined up to $5,000 and could also end up in jail for as long as 90 days for each day they remained functional after that. This news made the Uber team both terrified and devastated. The members of the team were either in their 20s or had just joined after graduating. They were being threatened with fines and jails. Amidst all of this, one man was least bothered, the CEO and co-founder, Travis Kalanick. He told the office members to do nothing about the matter and just ignore it. He further said that the most they would do was remove the cab part from their name and announce that they are basically a tech company. As a result, the rules and regulations won't apply to them. Travis would tell the people a lot of creative definitions like this and save the company from giving hefty fines, but it would create a lot of controversies. He even told the authorities that the drivers of Uber weren't their employees but their partners. This way, Uber was liable to give the elopement rights or benefits. Travis knew very well that the authorities wouldn't look at things his way, so he prepared for the worst-case scenario. Dark days. Doug Shifter was destroyed economically after the prosperity of Uber. He vented out on his Facebook wall by saying that in the initial days of the taxi industry, he would work for an average of 40 to 50 hours a week, but it has not crossed the limits. He cannot beat working 120 hours, and he is not a slave. He also refuses to be one. Soon after that, he drove to the city hall, placed a gun over his head, and shot himself. He is not the only one to have committed suicide and put the blame on Uber. A similar incident took place in India as well. One Indian driver failed to produce his car loan on time, and because of that, he took his own life. This event resulted in angry mobs visiting the Uber office along with the dead person's body. They claimed that if Uber paid their drivers well enough, they would not have to face this day. But Travis has something different to say. He believed that Uber was helping drivers to live better lives. Uber was paying them well enough so that they could make ends meet and live a satisfactory life. The riders are also moving across the town with much ease, and he definitely has no idea where things are going wrong. Some people agree with what Travis said about being an efficient system that held the drivers to earn better and also provided the passengers with cheap rides. It looks like a win-win situation, isn't it? Not really. If you look closely, the extra money earned is spent on car maintenance, taxes, and fuels, and leaves them with a minimum wage. On top of all this, the drivers don't even hold secure employment, or even the benefits they would get if they were signed under a taxi company. Since then, numerous anti-Uber movements have been brought into action by many of the drivers and taxi operators. For example, coming up with gridlock on the road in protest of Uber. In some countries, the taxi cartels have good relations with the members of organized crime who would burn Uber cars or harass Uber drivers by stealing their cars. In places like Mexico, where we find the origin of the deadliest cartels, the taxi drivers from Uber are being brutally killed. There is an open war between the local transportation and the Uber company. Well, in spite of everything that is happening around, everyone has their own point of view on whether to consider Uber as good or bad. But one thing that is constant is that wherever Uber steps, controversies are sure to follow. With this, we have come to the end of this video. Everything looks good from a distance, but when you peek inside, you get to see the real scenario. None of the users are aware of the controversies and dark side of Uber, which is why people still resort to them. I hope one day, Uber will make a way out of their controversies and leads a peaceful business. Whatever Travis is up to, is that right? Are the drivers paid right, according to you? If Travis increased the wages, would the drivers be alive today? Do let us know what you think. I hope you enjoyed this, and if you like this video, share it with your friends and family. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more such content. Hit the bell icon for fresh updates. Thanks for watching.